The silence of the North. If you travel far enough north, past the edge of civilization, past the frozen coastlines of Alaska and Canada, you enter a world where the Earth seems completely dead. The Arctic Circle is a vast, unforgiving desert of shifting ice, absolute darkness, and sub-zero temperatures that can freeze human skin in a matter of seconds. For centuries, this barren landscape was considered a dead zone, an empty void on the global map where nothing could survive, and nothing ever happened. But during the absolute height of the Cold War, this frozen wilderness became the most dangerous chessboard on the planet. Deep beneath the thick ice caps, hidden from satellites and spy planes, the United States and the Soviet Union were engaged in a silent, invisible war. It was a game of cat and mouse played by nuclear submarines, navigating through treacherous underwater canyons in total darkness. In this environment, eyesight is completely useless. The only way to survive, the only way to hunt, and the only way to avoid being hunted, is to listen. To map this frozen battlefield, the United States military, in cooperation with Canadian intelligence, established a network of top-secret listening posts across the Arctic icepack. These were isolated outposts, manned by specialized teams of acoustic technicians, geophysicists, and military operators who spent months in total isolation. Their entire existence was dedicated to monitoring the hydrophones, high-tech underwater microphones dropped through holes drilled deep into the ice. They listened to the grinding of the shifting ice sheets, the distant songs of migrating whales, and, most importantly, the faint, low-frequency hum of Soviet submarine propellers moving through the black water. Every single sound was recorded, analyzed, and logged into classified archives. The men who worked these stations were trained to identify every single frequency in the Northern Hemisphere. They knew the acoustic signature of every Soviet vessel, every underwater current, and every marine mammal. But in the winter of 1968, at a highly restricted outpost codenamed Listening Station Point Barrow, the hydrophones picked up something that defied every law of known oceanography and naval engineering. It was a sound that shouldn't have existed, an anomaly so terrifying that it triggered an immediate, top-secret military mobilization known only in the deepest archives of the Pentagon as Operation Darkene. The anomaly was first detected on a freezing Tuesday evening in late November. The acoustic technician on duty was running a routine diagnostic on the deep-water hydrophones when a sudden, massive spike registered on the frequency analyzers. At first, the operator assumed it was a mechanical malfunction, a short circuit caused by the extreme Arctic cold warping the underwater cables. But as he adjusted the filters and amplified the audio track, the static cleared, and a heavy, rhythmic pattern emerged from the headphones. It wasn't the chaotic, grinding noise of ice cracking under pressure. It wasn't the biological chatter of a whale pod. It was a perfectly uniform, ultra-low frequency thumping sound. A deep, mechanical pulsation that reverberated through the ocean floor at a precise frequency of 14 Hz. 2 seconds of a heavy, metallic thud, followed by exactly 4 seconds of absolute silence. Then, another thud, over and over, with the mathematical precision of a Swiss watch. The technician immediately called his commanding officer to the terminal. Within an hour, the entire station was placed on high alert. They began cross-referencing the acoustic signature with their entire database of Soviet naval technology. They checked for nuclear submarines, experimental torpedoes, underwater drilling operations, and secret spy installations. The result came back completely blank. The Soviet Union did not possess anything capable of producing a low-frequency pulse of that magnitude under the ice. Even more disturbing, as the technicians utilized multiple hydrophone arrays to triangulate the source of the broadcast, they realized the sound was originating from a location that made absolutely no sense. The signal was echoing from a completely uncharted underwater trench, thousands of feet beneath the permanent polar ice pack, in a region completely inaccessible to any known human vessel. The mobilization of Darkene. Within 24 hours of the initial detection, the encoded data logs were transmitted via encrypted satellite uplink directly to the Chief of Naval Operations in Washington. The reaction was instantaneous. The Pentagon didn't just order a standard investigation, they triggered a Level 5 classified containment protocol. The military intelligence community feared that the Soviets had successfully deployed a revolutionary, undetectable underwater weapon system, or perhaps a massive, permanent acoustic jamming station designed to blind Western sonar networks in the event of a nuclear war. The mission to identify and neutralize this threat was officially designated Operation Darkene. A specialized research and tactical vessel, the USS Atka, was immediately redirected from its standard patrol route and ordered to proceed north into the treacherous ice fields under complete radio silence. The crew was not told where they were going or what they were looking frozen sea. The team set up a physical base camp directly on top of the permanent ice sheet. Tectonic movement, but the moment the equipment reached the deep water trench, all theories of a natural occurrence were instantly shattered. The sound was no longer a faint hum in the distance. Up close, the 14 Hz pulse was so powerful that the scientists could literally feel the vibrations traveling through the ice beneath their boots. It was a deep, physical resonance that caused a strange, sickening sensation in the human body, triggering intense vertigo, nausea, and an overwhelming feeling of psychological dread. The advanced hydrophones captured the audio with terrifying clarity. It was listening to the surface. Then, it would resume, but at a slightly higher frequency, matching the exact rhythm of the ship's own sonar equipment. It was mimicking them. The anomaly wasn't just a machine. It was aware of their presence. The circle in the ice. The tension at the ice camp reached a breaking point on the third night of the operation. The Arctic blizzard had completely cut off all visual communication with the main vessel, leaving the small team of scientists and intelligence officers isolated in their reinforced tents on the ice. The automated data logs were running continuously, recording the terrifyingly synchronized pulses coming from the deep trench. The churning, boiling water behind them. By the time they reached the deck of the vessel, the entire perimeter of the research site was engulfed in a thick, unnatural fog caused by the extreme temperature differential between the boiling ocean and the Arctic air. The 14 Hz pulse gave one final, earth-shaking thud that vibrated the entire steel hull of the ship, and then, total silence returned to the Arctic Circle. The frequency went completely dead. The Cold War-era scrub. The return of the USS Atka to its naval base was met with an unprecedented level of security. The moment the ship docked, it was boarded by a specialized military detachment. Every single logbook, every audio reel, every thermal chart, and every single photograph taken during the 48-hour window of the anomaly was immediately confiscated. The civilian geophysicists and technicians were separated, placed into isolation rooms, and subjected to intense interrogation by intelligence. Underwater trench throughout the 1970s and 80s. But every single time they returned, they found nothing but empty, silent water. The trench was completely quiet. Whatever had been down there, whatever had created that rhythmic, conscious pulse, had vanished back into the deep ocean trenches, leaving no physical trace of its origin or its purpose. The official explanation provided by modern naval historians who have reviewed the fragmented files is that the incident was merely a misidentified icequake, a natural phenomenon where thermal stress causes large blocks of polar ice to violently rupture, creating low-frequency acoustic waves that can mimic mechanical sounds. They claim that the perfect circular fracture was a statistical anomaly caused by unique structural flaws in that specific ice sheet, and that the temperature spike was a calculation error caused by the extreme cold short-circuiting the early electronic sensors. It is a clean, comfortable explanation that allows the public to sleep at night. But to the surviving technicians who sat in that dark sonar room, who felt the physical vibrations shaking the marrow in their bones, and who watched the ocean boil in a mathematically perfect circle, the natural explanation is the real myth. They know that something down there was listening to them, something old, incredibly massive, and completely alien to our understanding of technology. And as modern military forces continue to militarize the melting Arctic ice caps with advanced submarine fleets and automated listening arrays, one terrifying question remains. If we keep listening into the deep, black water of the North, what happens when that 14 Hz pulse finally answers back? Welcome back to the Lost Time.